Hey everybody, this is the first video in our AirDrop series, where we're going to teach you how to code your own AirDrop tool built on top of the Decent SDK. In this first video, we're going to be setting up the project and doing a high-level overview of what it is we're building. Without further ado, let's get started. What it is that we're building. So with the Decent SDK and with the Decent protocol, you have AirDrop mechanisms built in right out the gate. And so we already have this nice little AirDrop app that's built inside of the Decent SDK and the Decent HQ. What we're going to do today is we're going to build our own standalone app so that you can build your own AirDrop tool using the Decent SDK as a JavaScript developer. And so without further ado, let's get started. We're going to try to get this done in less than 10 minutes. And so step one, we're going to fork the Decent repository that we want to use. And so that repository is the Start Decent repo. Start Decent is this nice little starter pack that the Decent team has built so that we can get a website that already has README. It's already got the Decent SDK, it's got Next.js, everything that we need to build an app right out of the box. So I'm going to expand this code tab. I use SSH. If you don't use SSH, feel free to use HTTPS. Copy the link, and now we can run git clone, paste that. All right, once I cloned the repository, I'm going to change the name. And so I'm going to just manually do this right here into Start Decent. I'm going to rename it to AirDrop starter. So now I can cd into AirDrop starter. Once I'm inside of there, I can install my packages with npm I if you use npm. I like to use yarn, so I'm just going to run yarn. This is going to install all of our packages and get us ready to run the repository locally. While we're installing the packages, I'll kind of talk through what our overview is. In less than 10 minutes, we're going to try to explain what the project is, clone our Decent starter kit, install the packages, run our project locally, set up a brand new GitHub repository, deploy onto vercel, and then do some tiny upgrades to our README. We've already cloned the repository. Right now we're on step 2 of installing the packages, and then we're going to run it locally. I've already created a brand new empty repository for this, which is called the AirDrop starter. It's the AirDrop starter pack. And so once this finishes installing, we'll be able to update this repository to point to our new repository. Usually on GitHub we would make templates, and that's what we're going to do with this AirDrop kit. I don't have permission to do that with the Decent starter kit, so this is how we're going to do it. So again, we're installing packages right now. Once we're done installing packages, we're going to run the app locally. We just finished, so we'll run the app locally by running, for me, yarn dev. If you use node npm, you'll run npm run dev. It's going to be the exact same thing. I like to use yarn, so I'm going to run yarn dev. Once we do that, we should be able to see that we can run the app locally by going over to localhost 3000. We'll see that we should get a request over here on our server. Okay, we're compiling. Compiled. Looks like we got some deprecated notices, but otherwise we got the right thing. And we've got a fully functioning version of Decent. Looks like I didn't install my packages properly. This is probably why I needed to use npm. So I'll undo what I just did. We'll open up our code base. I believe it's probably here. We'll delete our yarn lock. And now we'll run npm I. Once we run that npm I, it'll update our packages to follow npm install instead of yarn, and so then we'll be leveraging the package lock.json instead of yarn lock. The app does seem like it runs, so I think we can probably move on from here. And so moving on, we have our new repo, and so let's copy that repo URL, come back over to our terminal, and let's check out where our remote is for our remote repository for this project by running git remote -v. We'll see that we're currently pointed at the Start Decent repository, but we don't want to push our changes there. We want to push our changes to our new AirDrop repository. To do that, we'll run git remote set -url origin, and then paste our URL. give you a couple new lines so you can read that. Get remote set URL, the remote that we want to set, which is our origin, and then we'll type in the new address. Now we'll run that same get remote -v command, and we can see that we, instead of pointing at the start decent repository, we're now pointed at our AirDrop starter. From here, we can run git push origin main, and this should update our empty repository right here to have some content. Let's see. Changes have been pushed. We refresh. Awesome. We have cloned the repository, installed the packages, run locally, set up our GitHub. Now let's set up vercel. Vercel is what we're going to use to deploy our website, our project, without having to pay anything. Very easy plugin. So we'll create a new project. Already found our AirDrop starter. We shouldn't need to change anything. Let's just deploy. Should be that easy. And now while we're making these changes, the last step that we're going to do is we're going to update the README to just kind of talk about the AirDrop starter. And so we're just going to say AirDrop, I like lowercase, AirDrop starter kit. Purpose of this repository is to get you up and running quickly with the DecentSDK for AirDrops. And we should be able to keep everything else kind of the same for now. Let's push those changes. Git status, we usually won't be, in the next videos, we'll be checking out branches, but on this first one, because it's a brand new repository, we're just gonna push straight to main, git add readme, git commit dash m initial commit, git push origin main. I'm not actually going to run it yet because we're in the middle of this deploy. What usually happens is we get the deploy working, but what happened last time was the checks failed, so we might have to skip that. But you can just kind of follow along. Again, we didn't have to type in any credit card information to use vercel. You can just use it right out of the box for free. Trying to help you as an early engineer be able to do what you want without having to pay massive costs. Okay, and so it looks like it built successfully. So we can now see that we get a public URL that we can share with anybody. And so instead, when we were running it before, it was on localhost, which is only on our machine. Now that we've connected vercel, we get this nice public link. And I think it even updates over here. If I remember right, it should. There we go. We also get the URL automatically over on our GitHub. And so now that we know that that deploy works, we're just going to do that push. We didn't, little error on my machine with GPG stuff, so I just got to run this quick command. You can skip this step. This step is not for you. This is just something that happens on my computer. There's GPG commits enabled, and I haven't figured out how to turn those off. So I'll do my commit again, do my push again, and this time it'll go up just fine. Cool. We come back over to the GitHub repo. We are at 8 minutes. We're still under 10. Perfect. And we should see in vercel that a new build is going right now, which it is, right on production. And so we've done our vercel deployments, we've updated our README, and that is it. We now have a running project that is connected to our own brand new GitHub repository, and it has the Decent Starter app, where we can, you can share this link on Twitter, you can share it with anybody, you connect your wallet. I'm actually going to share this on Twitter because we've got a minute left, so I'm going to go ahead and take this. First place I'll go is over to Lenster because I like Lenster, and then we'll share the same thing over on Twitter. Lenster. Oh, I just did twice Lenster. One Twitter. Because on Lenster, you're sharing on Web3 social, sign in with Polygon, don't pay anything. And then on Twitter, you're on a Web2 platform, but you get I get a little bit more discoverability and visibility over there on Twitter because more people are using it right now. We sign in. Sign the transaction. We got 30 seconds left to keep this under 10 minutes. New app incoming from @Decent.xyz. Copy that, and then we'll send the same thing over on Twitter. Thank you all for tuning in. See you in the next video.